Sports, it gets like that sometimes. And what we talking about is the Portland Trail Blazers. All the news is breaking out right now. If you haven't heard, I'm going to tell you right now. Type it in. Carmelo Anthony is signed by the freaking Portland Trail Blazers. Now, that's not the team I thought he would be on, but hey, it is what it is. ESPN reported the non-guaranteed deal. I believe it's one of those 10-day contracts, trial and error. See how it goes. If he works out, then he'll be signed. But he's going to a team that I didn't think needed him. Brooklyn Nets needed him. Orlando Magic needed him. I can go into several other teams that needed him. Portland Trail Blazers didn't necessarily need this man, but they wanted a punch, and they're going to get the 35-year-old to join this team who have a host of injuries that they're dealing with. Zach Collins is one of the few. Nurkic, even though they don't play the same position, is another one. So, again, I thought they needed more defense, but they're going more offense here. But we will see what happens. Let's go into why they did this, okay? We look at the East. It's a big rumble for the top spot right now. Boston's number one, Miami, Milwaukee. That's a quick hint there just to give you the flow of the East Coast and where it's going, all right? By the way, Atlanta and Orlando, as I mentioned, they are close 7th in AC with 4-7 records. So there goes again how sorry the freaking East is. Now, if you have a 4-7 record on the West Coast, you ain't doing much because it's such a tight race. There's not enough time. The Lakers are on the top, all right, 9-2. Houston's at 8-3. Denver, I mentioned my top three team is Denver. And the line, the order is kind of similar. I had the Lakers at number 5. I had the Clippers at a better position. I also had the team we're going to talk about in a better position. As we continue to go down, it's Dallas and the Spurs right now, hunting for the race. 11 games in, it is crunch time, and Portland Trailblazers are in a very, very, very hard predicament. 4-8. They need to go on a big winning streak to try to get back up into the rankings. I had Portland as a top 3 team in my review of the West Coast, and it's failing horribly. I don't know why. Look at the lineup. They're stronger than most of the teams, even without Carmelo Anthony. So now it's crunch time. They're saying, let's try to make a change. Let's do something different and see if we can get a punch. So let's go into the lineup now, right? We jump into the Portland Trail Blazers lineup and what they have. If you talk about well-balanced, it is nuts, man. They got everything you can want, right? Kent Bazemore, they grabbed him from Atlanta. Zach Collins is injured. Why aren't you playing Moses Brown a little bit more? Paul Gasol hasn't come back yet. Mario Hezonja was a gem of a pick. He's going to work out well for this team. They got Ronnie Hood already at the small forward position. So those two should have been able to do enough to make up some of the losses that you got with Aminu and Mr. Harkless. But remember, those guys are 6'9", 6'10", long arms and defensive minded. So when you lost those two, everyone keeps talking about it. No, they didn't provide much offensively. Yeah, they didn't, but they were just long bodies to hurt your mind going inside, playing defensively against some of the best small forwards in the West Coast. And you need that with Kawhi, Paul George, LeBron, and such on that side. Skylar BCA heads out their power forward backup position. I like him. Now, Sear Little is there, right? He could potentially be the next Mo Harkless or Aminu for Firmino. I'm surprised how they have him listed at 6'5", 220. I do believe he's 6'8", 220 with long arms. He's a guy that should be able to play defense and come in and help in that respect. So just looking at the squad, you already know that they lost out from a defensive position. Just looking at him, right? Now you go into the other players they added. Anthony Tolliver is another scorer. To me, he reminds me, again, not Carmelo Anthony, but what he brings to the tables from an offensive on what their directives are or what their purpose on the team is. Anthony Tolliver is a forward that is supposed to come in and play and give some help from a scoring perspective, and he's doing that. He shoots a high clip from 3. Anthony Simons is a developing young point guard who's going to be a superstar in this league. Once McCollum and Lillard start to fade off, it will be his team when they re-sign him. Anthony Simons is an exciting 6th man right now. Gary Trent Jr., I haven't seen him get as much burn. This is another guy that could profit from playing, potentially a role player, could be a great 3-point shooter out of Duke. I think he can provide a good scoring punch. The guy that I want to talk about a little bit that I think is hurting his team, they don't don't realize it. Hassan Whiteside, even though it was a great signing, he is peaks and valleys, and literally the guy is as long as I've seen it, man. He's so long. Again, a great inside post player, can be a great defensive player. It just doesn't look like he exerts a lot of effort, and that may not mean anything, right? Some people just don't have that face, right? The face that people make when they look like they're trying their hardest. He just doesn't have it. Can't really jump out the three when the big centers shoot the three. And if I could get some stats, maybe show you a little bit deeper. Let's see if it'll show up on my cell phone here, because there's some defensive stats you can look up. And I can bet you where they're getting hurt at is centers like Jokic, players like Anthony Davis, who can shoot the three, stretch the floor, and Hassan Whiteside does not do well on the pick and roll situations or hedging out to guard these bigger and more mobile big men in the NBA. So, in my opinion, signing Carmelo adds in another liability from a defensive perspective. And I'm worried what that will do for this team if they would truly help them. However, if you look at the Houston Rockets, right, in their lineup, okay, even though they have some defensive players and PJ Tucker, etc., actually they do have some good defensive players there. They didn't re-sign Kawhi, what's his name, Kenneth Faried, which I think they should immediately. But they're pretty. They have okay defense. But the Portland Trailblazers have no identity in that respect, and that's why I think they're missing. And now they add in on Carmelo Anthony, another offensive threat, because they feel as though they just need somebody else to clear up room for C.J. McCollum or Damian Lillard. So again, Carmelo signs, like the lineup already. Just thought they needed some more grit, some more toughness. And that's what they were missing. They could have signed that, with some free agents, or maybe nab somebody from the G League, some grip players, basically, a-holes on the court, guys that make it miserable for the opposing team's forwards, talking them down, just spitting a little bit, getting a little bit nasty, pulling the jersey, that type of guy, the old Piston type of guy. They don't have that guy, and Mo Harkless and Mino were those people. So it's a little bit sad that they had to go out and make a move this early, but there's no room to wiggle in the West Coast. I just showed you how the Western Conference plays out. If you start losing early, you're in big trouble. And as you can see, the Blazers are in big trouble, and they're trying to catch back up, at least try to match up with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are overachieving this year, and the Phoenix Suns, who are also overachieving. Again, great look for the Blazers in trying to make a play. They would have been better off signing maybe an Iman Shepherd, who went over to the Brooklyn Nets, and those teams should have just done a swap. But we shall see how it plays out for the Portland Trailblazers with the addition of Carmelo Anthony, who more than likely will be coming off the bench. And now you're cutting minutes for two guys that really, I thought Rodney Hood and Herzegovina were good enough to be able to provide the punch they needed. All for Sports signing off. Carmelo to the Blazers. We did a little bit of analysis. Don't think it was the right move, but they're trying. So, not bad for the Blazers. We'll see how it turns out. Maybe they'll shut me up and score the life out of it. Kind of like the U.S. Spend till you die, shoot till you die. Maybe that's the motto. I'm signing off. Peace.